Hey, we're here with Randy Dyck, that's last name D-Y-C-K, and Randy is a real estate coach who helps realtors strategically grow their business and increase their return on life. He's sold 7,000 homes in 33 years, so he knows a thing or two, and his current focus is on a fascinating concept called scientific scaling systems, which is a coaching program designed to help agents attract the right clients by leveraging prospecting lanes tailored to their personalities. So we're here to hear war stories to find out about in business, in real estate, in life, in making money, in all the ups and downs, how to deal with people, how to deal with yourself, how to just deal with life's adversities. Randy is the guy for us. So Randy, glad to be speaking with you.
Right on. Well, I'm happy to be here, Robert.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So I did my best to hype you up or hype up the audience for you and tell everyone what you're all about. But in your own words, what's your current focus? What just has you so fired up, excited to jump out of bed in the morning?
That's a great question. That's really part of my why is how you come alive every morning. And so coming alive every morning is about helping others succeed in life and giving them the sense of who they are and what motivates them, what's their passions, what's their what I call prima powers, not superpowers, but prima powers, and then how they can use those to really help people in their lives and leave a story of legacy behind. So that's really what gets me fired up every morning.
And there's a lot built into that, what you said, right? There's this idea that everyone's different and everyone has different needs and wants and passions and abilities to go out there and change the world and improve things. But in order to get in motion, they have to have this self-discovery, self-awareness, know who they are. And you know what I find kind of interesting is how there's like what you do for the business to make money, right? You're someone that sells homes, and then you have to like adapt it into this more like abstract, legacy driven of changing the world. So do you ever think about that? How like on the surface level, you're just like making money, but then you have to like turn it into something that really motivates you and drives you. It takes a lot of mental effort to like think big picture, doesn't it?
It does take a big thinker and a big picture kind of concept. However, I think when you're born and you see through who you are and what you are and why whatever motivates you. I think at the end of the story, it's about how you empower others and how you help others get what they want. Because when you help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. And so that's really what life's about: is how do you serve and help others. And part of my concept of leadership, and that's always been my concept, is what I call the L4. And so L4 is really reverse engineering leadership, which is really about giving people everything they want. So L4 is mean I need to be a learner. First L is I got to learn. Second one is I have to allow others to leverage everything that I've learned along the way. If that's 1 year in the business, let them leverage the 1 year. If it's 30 years in the business, let them leverage 30 years out of what I've done and fast track their business. And then last is creating legacy in their own world. Have I given them enough that they can create their own legacy? And really, that's what L4 is. True leadership is giving somebody the ability to learn, to leverage, and then create legacy.
And what that tells me is that we must put on our teaching hat to be a coach, to be a mentor, to
Mm.
say, hey, like I've learned all these things in real estate, and there's basically two choices, right? I could just stand back and let someone else make all the same mistakes I did, or be like, hey, here's a few things I learned. Let me kind of like share what I know without getting in your own way. And so, what's the starting point with this? Because if say someone's tuning into this right now and they're saying, I've heard all these things, right? I've heard that I should be a leader and that I should like care for others and help them along on their journey, but I just don't even know how to begin. So does that begin with like making an effort to be more social and like ask people about their needs? Like how do I even begin this process of leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think you have to ask yourself, what's the story that you want others sharing about you when you leave the room? Think about that. When I leave the room, not when I leave this planet, because everybody's going to say nice things about you when you pass on, because that's what we do. But when you're in a room and you leave that room, what are people saying about you? That's what you need to think about. Are people saying kind, nice things about Randy, or are they going, glad that guy's not in the room anymore? So I think that's what it's really about.
And so this has me curious about you and your own journey because, like we said at the
Mm.
beginning, you sold 7,000 homes. You've seen some things happening in the real estate market, and no matter who we are, we go through these phases of life, and we all have these struggles, adversities. And it's like if you haven't had struggles, you haven't been trying enough, you haven't been taking enough risks. So as far as this idea of when you leave the room, do people say good things or bad things about you? Did you always have it figured out, or did you have some figuring out of your own to do along the way?
Well, I think you've never arrived. I mean, that's the concept you have to think of. Every morning you wake up, I don't know if I've arrived yet. What do I need to do to arrive? And gosh, I've had many struggles in my life too that have taught me a ton of life lessons. At 14, I broke my neck, woke up paralyzed, had to learn to walk again. So everything in my life has been through adversity. And adversity, we almost need to invite adversity into our lives so we are tested. We're tested mentally, physically, emotionally. And when we've been tested, then we can build capacity within ourselves. And that capacity then can be transformed or actually even given to others because they see your capacity, they come alongside and their capacity is increased as well. You're the sum of five people. We always hear that. But capacity is really about if you can bring five people with amazing capacity together, imagine what you can do with inviting another five into your little circle. So it's really about that. And, um, you know, Robert, I'm writing a book on the underdog DNA. I'm a serial underdog. And, every one of us has what I would call the underdog DNA within us. And that's the capacity to find something beyond just the norm that we've been given or created. There's that 24th chromosome, right? We've got 23 chromosomes. I believe there's a 24th called the DNA of an underdog within us. And it's really through adversity, challenges, tough times that we really find out what we're really made of. Have you probably read the book Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me? I mean, here's an individual that was just struggling to even, clean restaurants and whatever in the evenings. And here he goes on to be this most amazing individual that could run forever and do every task, physical, mental, in front of him. So really, we all have this spirit of the underdog within us and the DNA within us. And by the way, DNA in my world means decisive next action. Think about that. You're all underdogs. And what is the DNA within you? The decisive next action. What are you going to do next? Come on, go for it. Get up. Do this.
I love this. I love the catchiness of this and the capacity concept, right? Like you think of that word capacity,
Mm.
you think like when there's the fire marshal placard and it says, it can only hold 50 people in this room. It can hold 200 people in this room. So how can you give more to others? Like a capacitor stores information. And so you think this idea, or not information, it stores electricity, right? It stores power. And
Hmm.
so you think of this idea of being tested, right? It's so easy when you have these challenges to say like, oh, I'm so tired, this is wearing me down, the stories that you tell yourselves. But this idea of being tested, it's like, okay, well, am I getting a C minus or am I getting a B plus, right? If something's a test, it's like, well, it's to see how badly I really want it or how far I've grown, so that way I can get through it and adapt and help others. And so as far as the way that this applies to real life, the real world, tangible
Mm.
things. As far as the ups, like you dealt with the broken neck thing, but as far as like your business, your career, the ups and downs of real estate, do you have any like scary stories to share with us about just when the market was really bad or like you couldn't close that sale or something? Like, what do you have to share with us about your own business adversity?
Gosh, I've been through four different cycles in the game of real estate, like four ups, four downs. And the cycles all look a little different and feel a little different, but the reality of it is the mindset needs to be similar, the same. And it's about just being disciplined and having that DNA, decisive next action. Love the boredom of consistency. Think about that. And being able to do it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. It's about just doing the task. And for many of us, I think we find that really difficult, especially with, how the world's been transformed with the internet, it's been transformed with social media, how we want to scroll, scroll, scroll. We can't stay on task very long. This is the challenge for many of us, is staying on task day after day, month after month, whatever it may be. And so that is what I learned early on. And gosh, God didn't give me too many gifts, but the gifts that he did give me, I just said, I'm going to own these gifts and make sure that I follow through with them on a daily basis. And that served me really, really well. And for any one of you out there, you're all geniuses. Every one of you is a genius. The genius is within. And when you tap into your genius, stay with it. Don't be distracted. Don't be discouraged. Don't let somebody tell you your genius is way too weird. It's way too crazy or way too off, because God gave you this genius, and now tap into it and consistently use it day after day, week after week, month after month.
100%. Well, this is amazing. And it's easy to forget how blessed we all are and how blessed you and I are, right? You think like
Mm.
we're humans, we're Homo sapiens, but you could have easily been born 10,000 years ago, and all you'd know is living in a cave, barely scraping by, killing a bear if you're lucky, and that's it. That's all there is to life. But we're living in this day and age where just by being in America, you're in like the top
Mm.
2% of wealth in the world. By speaking English, by having the internet, by being born in this period of time, we have all of these advantages given to us. And also like the self-awareness, right? We're born in this era where you and I can have this conversation. And even like 20, 30 years ago, some of these keywords we're throwing out were just kind of like really obscure. So we have all these gifts and we can't squander it. And you're saying we need to show up with discipline, which I find to be a powerful concept, but something that like not a lot of people have, right? And I think when you were talking,
Mm.
there was some saying that's like they're like choose monotony over misery. That sometimes people get bored or tired of the discipline of showing up every day, and they say, "Oh, I want more. I want to throw away this and go for something else," and they end up just kind of switching from thing to thing and not really getting anywhere in life. And it can be kind of tough to reconcile, right? Of being like, well, I'm on the right track, I'm having success, but I need to like wake up every day and put on my realtor clothes and go out there and sell homes. And so like what's your secret to success here when other real estate agents may be mediocre or may fall short, and you and the people that you coach, like you do
Mm.
really well? Like what do you think makes you and your tribe stand out?
It's about being a cat. And when I say cat, that's an acronym for being curious. God gave you a gift of curiosity, and somewhere along the way, we park it. When we get about 18 years of age, we stop being curious. Ambitious. We got to be ambitious, and we got to be tenacious. So think of yourself as a cat, curious, ambitious, tenacious. And I think that is so important. And the curiosity piece is probably the most important. Gosh, when we are curious, we learn. And when we're curious and learning, we can now see something that we haven't seen in the past, which helps elevate who we are, whether it's in business, personal, whatever it may be. But the more curious you are and the better the question that you have, the more you learn, the more you flourish. And I'm going to say curiosity equals income. Curiosity equals net worth. Ambitious equals net worth. And tenacious or tenacity equals net worth. So be a crazy cat, man. Be a crazy cat.
Yeah, and curiosity killed the cat, but in our case, we were going to make it work for us. So curiosity, ambitious, tenacity. And so as far as like the transformation, the change that you make in these real estate agents that you coach, like is there a sort
Mm,
of before and after
yeah,
picture? Like when people come to you for help, are they struggling? Are they stuck? Are they doing things
yeah.
incorrectly? Like what sort of change do you put into people?
That is a great question. And so scientific scaling systems is about that, about the science and then scaling it and using systems. And really what I do is I help agents find their genius. We're all created different. And so many times agents fall into the same pattern that whatever else is, or whatever somebody else is doing, I'm going to do as well. And so what I do is I dig deep into each individual that I coach and I find their genius. And when you find their genius, they're in their lane, their capacity grows, their excitement grows, their uh, desire to get up in the morning and just go for it grows because they're working in their lane of genius. And then what I do is I help them find who their perfect avatar is, that person that they want showing up each and every morning. And what's beautiful about that is they're working in their genius, but they're also going to be serving somebody in their genius because they're now coupled together. It's a perfect fit, so to speak. And I help them build out what I call commission rivers, not prospecting lanes, but commission rivers. We've all seen those lazy rivers at the beautiful resorts, and people, actively jump in there with their inner tube and they float down the lazy river. Well, that is what I create for my agents that I work with. So they find their genius, they know who their perfect client or their avatar is, and I build out a lazy river for them to find their way to you as the agent. And they say, "You're my chosen agent." So instead of chasing, convincing, and closing, that's old school. Nobody likes to be chased, convinced, and closed anymore. The avatar is actually chasing and closing you as the chosen agent. Quite a concept. And how do we do
Yeah.
that? Well, of course, social media is so powerful. Meta's got 50,000 data points on everybody that's out there. And so we use social media to drive these avatars to you as a chosen agent, and it's just such a great process, and it transforms people's business from chasing, convincing, closing, and that is such a grind to where they are now being the chosen agent and closed by the client. It's just an amazing reversal of that. And so I've learned that through these 7,000 sales. I've put it into practice years and years ago, and it worked so well. And I put that throughout my team. And of course, now I've got agents all over North America using scientific scaling systems to scale their business through the science of the systems.
Very nice. And when we all want this, right? We all want to attract people to us instead of having to chase people. We all want to be the
Mm.
chosen one. And that's such a cool phrase and concept. And so I like this idea of finding one's genius and then connecting it to that ideal avatar, because it's so easy to have an inaccurate picture of who you are, or maybe your own low self-esteem gets in the way. But then if you make it about who you're helping, right? You're helping these people like find the perfect home or whatever the goal is, then it's about you being of service and not just about you being selfish. And to help us get a little bit of an idea, can you kind of tell us, like, I mean, what's an example of like what the genius looks like, or what the avatar looks like, just to help me get an idea of like what an example of the concreteness would be?
Well, the genius could be anything that you are. So we all come in different shapes, sizes, our quirks, who we are, what my passions are. So let's just say I'm an absolute crazy gamer, and that is my genius. I'm an absolute rock star gamer, but I'm also a realtor. And that's where my passion is. So I just love living in that passion lane of being a gamer. But I love to serve seniors. I love seniors. How would I be able to serve a senior and be a gamer? So I need to somehow put my genius in front of that. And so that might be where I tap into the seniors' grandchildren to get my way into serving the senior. Let me take it to another level. So here's what my genius was. My genius was helping investors because I love investing in real estate. And every commission dollar I earned, I went and pushed it back into investing in real estate. I said to myself, gosh, if I could serve investors every day versus all the others, that would be like heaven, heaven. So I thought that's going to be my avatar. How do I find a commission river where these avatars, these investors are always at? I'm going to go clubbing. Now, not clubbing, not dance club, but I'm going to go to clubs where investors are. So I found clubs within my marketplace Next thing you know, I'm in a club where there's 300 investors every month meeting. I go, wow, this is unbelievable. There's tons of realtors in that investment club. How do I tap into this group of investors? I'm going to work my way into the ownership or the leadership of this club, and I'm going to just give value to them every week. Hey, here's another great property. Here's great stats. Here's this. Here's that. This would be really great at your next meeting that you should present. Finally said, Randy, why aren't you doing this? Get up on stage and do this, which was my whole MO on doing this. Next thing you know, I'm on stage and I've got 85, 90 people waiting in line for my business card because of the way I organized that. Then it came to the point where they would actually show up at my office and they would say, by the way, Randy, we don't have an appointment with you, but we want to meet with you. And I go, well, how did you find me? Well, I was at the investment club that you were at last week. And we need to tell you this. We have our own realtor for our own personal property, but we've chosen you to be our investment agent. And the conversation is totally different because they're now coming and they're closing me. And I'm saying, well, let's talk about that. I might not be the right fit for you. So it's a different conversation. And that just turned into 40, 50, 60 sales on autopilot every year because of the way I organized that. So the genius in me, I found the right avatar. I built out the right lazy river or the commission river through the club. And they just floated down the river right into my office and said, take me.
You got a lot figured out, and that's what we want to do. And what a concept, right? Is who are you going after and get in front of them, figure out where they hang out and be there and deliver value and be so good that they can't ignore you. And a lot of people just need this kind of guidance, right? A lot of these real estate agents, they need to know how it's done, how you've mastered it, and how they can apply it themselves as well. So speaking to that and speaking to like these real
But
estate
Robert,
agents who,
I want to share one thing. It
sure,
isn't just about real estate. It's about any sales position, any entrepreneur. And the genius is really whatever your superpower or your prima power is. It could be you're an amazing chef. It could be that you love, driving race cars. It could be that you're an awesome mountain climber. Like whatever your genius is, we then tap into that and we work with that. That's the start of it. And then we start to build out that perfect avatar. And that avatar could be because of your passions, your value graphics, but it could also be that you choose to only work certain hours or days of the week. And then we customize that avatar to your work schedule. So there's just so many ways to make this work when you actually put the science behind it.
right. I love that. Put the science behind it and take that inventory and figure out what you have to contribute and how you're customized and then present that sort of package, that offer. And so speaking to some of these amazing ideas that you have, I want to make sure that we cover the bases, and we only just met, so I don't necessarily know the ideal question to ask you near the end here. So in this conversation we're having, speaking to either real estate agents or just people in general who have business and life aspirations, is there a missing hidden question in this conversation? Is there something that you wish I would ask you, I just don't know what to ask you?
That's a great question. Um, I would say what actually makes somebody successful or not successful? I mean, every day, and it's really a great quote that I have. It goes like this: success knocks on every door, but only those who welcome it with curiosity, ambition, and tenacity earn the privilege of it staying. So opportunity knocks on every one of our doors every day. But are we curious, ambitious, and tenacious? Because if we're not, opportunity has no right and will not stay.
And we've all dealt with that in life, right? We've all had that opportunity come to us, and we're like, oh my, years later, why didn't I pursue that? And so the more I think about this acronym, the more amazing I think that it is, right? Curiosity, like, are you open to these new ideas? Are you asking these questions? Are you thinking this through about how it fits? Ambition, are you taking the risk? Are you willing to rise above your comfort zone? And tenacity, are you willing to do the work and really like pursue this and follow through and apply that discipline. And I mean, it's people need to hear this message. And as far as them tapping into this more, I know that you say you're working on a book. I know that you have the Return on Life podcast and you have the website. So tell us about some next steps here. If someone was really impressed by the taste they got about what you have as far as delivering value, how can they get more of that? How can they take the next step with you?
Well, I'm on social media anywhere and everywhere. So that's Randy C. Dyck, Dyck. You can pronounce it Dyke or Dick. It doesn't matter. Just call me. I'll answer.
Okay.
And of course, online, I'm www.randydyck.com. So randydyck.com. I'm basically everywhere on social and on the internet. So I'm not hard to find, especially with a name like that.
Right. So that's Randy, last name Dyck. Find him on LinkedIn, find him at randydyck.com and start this conversation. If you're in real estate, see how he can help you. But if you're someone who just wants to achieve more in life, who wants to tap into that greater discipline, motivation, helping others, finding your legacy, and all that that entails, increasing your return on life, strategically growing your business, then Randy Dyck is the man, the myth, the legend that you can and should be contacting. So that's Randy Dyck everywhere social media is, wherever your favorite place is. Go and start that conversation. So few people do it, right? Some people are just so passive
Mm.
with their learning and they say, okay, I got some tips. That's nice. Well, no, if what Randy said really helped you, then get to speaking with him and figure out how you can build this relationship. And in our last few minutes here together, Randy, it's time for the scary part of the show where I like to maybe try to stump you a little bit, put you on the spot. It's where I ask you about a preferred quote or lesson that has served you in life or in business. So, what comes to mind
Mm.
as far as helping us out with a quick quote or lesson?
Well, this is a great quote from the book I'm writing. Adversity doesn't define who we are, but how we rise. So adversity doesn't define who we are, but how we rise. And every day adversity comes at us. And just you need to be prepared for adversity. And then it's how you deal with adversity when it enters your world. So rise above it. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's make it happen. And real quick, these last couple of seconds here, do you have any advice if someone says, I keep getting hit with all this stuff, like adversity is
Mm.
really kicking my butt these days? How do we show up and deal with adversity? Do you have a quick secret?
Well, it's about knowing that adversity is there and then discovering the underdog within you. And so and maybe you don't know, because I ask this question a lot to people. Hey, are you an underdog? And they go, no, I'm not an underdog. And I go, well, let's just slow it down. Think about your life and your challenging moments, the moments that you thought, I can't do this. Those are the underdog DNA, working away within you. And just know that you've got much, much more. Goggins talks about when you think you're done, you're only 40% effed, right? And so you know that you've got so much more capacity within you. And this is, I think, where we all fail. We get to a point and it starts to get hard, and then we go, oh, I'm done. But when it gets hard, that's when you really start to dig deep. That's where you go, okay, this is the moment. This is my moment. Think about that. This is my moment that I get to show not only myself, but everybody else that I'm worthy of this moment. And that is when you can push through and find greater capacity.
That is beautiful. It is your moment. It's like when you lift a weight and when you get to like 6 reps and you think you're done, it's like, no, power through to like 7, 8, 9. Like your muscle fibers are being ripped apart. That way they can grow back stronger. So
Mhm.
it's time to step up, time to make it happen. And you can make it happen with the help of Mr. Randy Dyck. That's Dyck. And as far as the locality, like where do you serve? The greater Vancouver area?
Well, I live just outside of Vancouver on the Pacific Ocean, in a place called Crescent Beach, a beautiful little beach town just outside of Vancouver. But I serve all of North America. I've got some clients in Dubai as well, South America. So everywhere and anywhere I can serve you.
You're worldwide, and you serve very well. And thank you for being here, Mr. Randy Dyck, for educating, inspiring, entertaining us. I really appreciated what you had to say today.
Thank you, Robert. It's been a pleasure.
All right.